Companies collect data to watch what we do and guess what we will do next. That is surveillance capitalism, a system built purely to observe and predict. A new model is replacing it. Society 5.0 marks a transition from merely observing populations to actively steering them through closed-loop cybernetic governance. Cybernetics is the science of steering systems. It uses continuous streams of information to create feedback loops, allowing a system to adjust its environment to match a desired programmed state. This image shows Norbert Wiener operating early mechanical feedback systems. These mid-20th century engineering experiments laid the groundwork for today's massive artificial intelligence infrastructures. Early attempts to run states this way required human administrators to interpret data and enact policy. In the 1970s, Salvador Allende, pictured here, attempted exactly this in Chile with Project Cybersyn, relying on experts in control rooms to manage the economy. Modern artificial intelligence removes the human-in-the-loop bottleneck entirely. Machine learning algorithms process the incoming data and execute the control protocols without human mediation. By stripping out the human administrators, automated AI converts human society from a collection of political bodies into a programmable operating system. To program a society, engineers first have to convert unpredictable individuals into quantifiable data nodes using a behavioral feedback loop. This schematic details the loop. Real-time measurements of human actions feed directly into an AI processor. The system then analyzes reactions to generate personalized information, directing psychological triggers back into human targets. Deploying these personalized behavioral triggers at scale is known as big nudging or micro-targeting. It relies on massive datasets collected through smartphones and browsers to individually tailor persuasive content. However, psychological nudging has strict limits. The human brain does not operate deterministically. Because people do not always react the same way to a piece of information, software alone cannot guarantee absolute control. To achieve total systemic control, the cybernetic loop must bridge the physical actuation gap. It has to move beyond software and directly interface with human biology. The traditional Internet of Things relies on smartphones and smart city infrastructure. These sensors are simply too large to capture high-resolution internal biological data. To bypass this limitation, engineers rely on NBIC convergence. NBIC stands for the merging of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science into a single unified discipline. This diagram outlines the convergence process. We start with separate technological pillars: nanoscience, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. The critical intersection occurs right here, where brain research, nanoscience, and pervasive computing merge. This is where hardware physically infiltrates the human nervous system. The direct result of this NBIC convergence is the Internet of Bodies, a network of connected devices and sensors affixed to, ingested by, or implanted within humans. The Internet of Bodies is an active initiative driven by global economic institutions like the World Economic Forum, which are already establishing policy frameworks for its rollout. The Internet of Bodies dissolves the physical barrier between the environment and the individual. It turns the human body into a continuous, real-time data node on a global network. In engineering, an actuator is a mechanism that translates a control signal into a physical change, like a motor turning a wheel. The specific actuator designed for the human brain is called nano-neurotechnology. This involves using nanoscale materials, particles less than 1/10,000th of a millimeter in size, to interface directly with neural systems. This actuation does not require invasive surgical microchips. It utilizes nanoscale materials like graphene or magnetic nanoparticles that can be ingested by the body, breaching and attaching to biological cells. These particles remain completely inert until they are queried or stimulated by external electromagnetic waves. Existing networks using beamforming technology, such as 5G or 6G, can activate them remotely. A parallel biological actuator is optogenetics. This technique introduces light-sensitive proteins into genetically modified brain cells, allowing external light signals to modulate cellular activity. These technologies cross the ultimate engineering threshold. The system shifts from passive biometric surveillance to the active remote modulation of human cognitive states. Processing real-time neurological and environmental data for billions of human nodes creates a massive computational bottleneck. To solve this bottleneck, engineers build digital twins. A digital twin is an accurate virtual replica of a physical system, in this case, an individual or a society, constructed using black box machine learning algorithms. These machine learning models ingest the constant flow of bio-nanodata to construct simulated replicas of entire populations. The objective is simulation. By running the model forward, the AI simulates millions of alternative futures simultaneously to calculate how populations will react to different conditions. This enables multiverse optimization. The AI calculates which specific intervention will yield the most efficient societal outcome according to its programmed goals. Once the optimal intervention is selected, the control signal is transmitted back through the network to the physical actuators, whether that means a psychological nudge, an electromagnetic frequency, or a light pulse. This complete sequence, the sensor, the digital twin, the optimization algorithm, and the physical actuator, creates a fully enclosed, automated cybernetic society. A centralized artificial intelligence attempting to optimize an entire planet faces severe engineering constraints. These systems hit a mathematical wall when calculating complex, networked dynamical systems. The processing power required becomes what computer scientists call NP-hard, meaning the time needed to find a perfect solution grows exponentially and becomes impossible to compute. When disruptions hit this highly structured architecture, the predictive model breaks. A single anomaly causes cascading failures across the centralized grid. In response, the AI engages in overfitting, attempting to force order by fitting parameters to random noise, rendering its predictions completely useless. Forcing a deterministic, top-down optimized state strips a system of its degrees of freedom. It eliminates the random mutations and serendipitous discoveries that drive evolutionary learning. Treating human society as an industrial machine to be centrally optimized guarantees catastrophic, unrecoverable systemic failure. Governing complex systems without triggering collapse requires an alternative architectural model. The mathematical and structural opposite of centralized top-down control is synergetics. In short, synergetics is the study of how individual parts of a system interact to produce macroscopic, self-organized structures. As the centralized grid shatters and reorganizes, a decentralized synergetics model relies entirely on bottom-up, self-organized coordination. Control is distributed locally. This enables co-learning. Local agent nodes adapt to disruptions using mutualistic feedback, isolating anomalies immediately without waiting for centralized commands. Biological and ecological systems favor this localized feedback approach because it requires a fraction of the processing power and avoids the vulnerabilities of total data retention and global control. The historical cybersyn approach relies on totalitarian lock-in, where one algorithm dictates the state of the network. Synergetics prioritizes flexibility and resilience. To survive the integration of NBIC technologies, we must architect systems for human-AI coevolution. We have to amplify local agency rather than building an automated, inescapable cage for human behavior.